This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
Yeah. There it is. He is ready to go. I hope you all are ready to go. Get your fantasy football questions ready for Scott Pianowski. Send them in on our Welt and Rayom text line at 855-912-1056. That's 855-912-1056. Right now on the chat board, you got fantasy football questions. Send them in right now. We can see them right in front of us. And, of course, follow him on Twitter at Scott_Pianowski and catch his exceptional work there at Yahoo, my friend. And Tom Brady. That's not looking good over there in Tampa Bay. Fantasy-wise, it was okay last night. But, boy, man, that situation's ugly over there, Scotty.
Yeah, it's not a good year for veteran quarterbacks, right? I mean, hang on, let me plug in my head. Okay, we're good. Not a good year for veteran quarterbacks. I mean, Brady, Rodgers, Russell Wilson's struggling. The league-wide, it's a problem, but we thought these were safe harbors, right? I mean, we thought Tampa Bay, even if they took a step back, Brady would throw for 4,500. He'd throw for 38 touchdowns, what he always does. Rodgers is pointing out people in Green Bay. I'm not looking forward to waking up early and watching Russell Wilson play against Jacksonville this week. And this is why, between the quarterback play being so frustrating and the usage being splintered, teams use multiple running backs, teams use third and fourth receivers. Sometimes they use two tight ends. It's been a really difficult fantasy season because there aren't that many things we can hang our hat on as being consistent week over week. And Tampa Bay is one of the teams that is frustrating us, but they have a lot of company on that bus.
Oh, dude, this is why every year, right as the season's about to start, I get people that say, let's play the schedule game. And I always tell them, I don't play that bullshit because you cannot predict what teams are going to be, and then when you think all of a sudden they're going to be great, well, then all of a sudden they're going to be bad. The AFC West was going to have all four teams in the playoffs, according to people. It's like, oh my God, that division is amazing. Well, guess what? The Raiders and the Broncos will not even sniff the playoffs when it's all said and done. The Eagles, did anybody have them 6-0? The Vikings, did anybody have them 5-1? And the Packers 3-4? The Falcons are leading the NFC South right now. Did anybody have Geno Smith and the Seahawks leading the division and not the Rams? I mean, and the Cardinals are 3-4. I mean, it's just you look around and it is so hard to go out there and predict the Jets. I know that they've gotten the breaks of playing all these backup quarterbacks, but they're still 5-2. Nobody had them 5-2. So to me, that's where it gets kind of crazy that people want to predict. And that's the great thing about this league, that once you think you've got it, bro, you get humbled right away. And look at the whole Tom Brady and Bucs situation. You thought they were going to be contenders? Dude, right now they're struggling to just get into the damn playoffs.
Yeah, very well said. I was having a really good year with my spread picks. I got creamed in week 7, went 1-4, worst week of the season. I actually did have the Eagles winning the NFC, and I had Minnesota winning their division. But
you have 6-0?
But Big O, we could talk for 3 hours about stuff I got wrong.
Yeah.
I thought Russell Wilson was going to win the breakup. I thought Seattle was going to be terrible. I thought both New York teams. I thought Brian Dable would make them a little bit better, like 5-12, 6-11. Right, they're 6-1 right now. I certainly didn't have the Jets being the story that they are.
And we all did the same thing, Scott. Most of us thought the same kind of things that you did. That's why I tell people, don't play the damn schedule game.
Right. Your takeaway is really strong, and I agree with you. When people say in August, I'm going to take such and such a running back because look at his December schedule. Well, first of all, do you even know that running back will be healthy in December? Right. Who the heck knows? It's a position.
Will his line be healthy? Will his quarterback be healthy? Will his
who is the worst running game in the NFL right now by the advanced metrics? It's the Indianapolis Colts, who had the first overall pick in fantasy was Jonathan Taylor. They have the 32nd ranked running game in the league. That tells you all you need to know about it's a snow globe league. So what do you do? The way I frame it, and again, I'm totally with you. Don't look ahead too far. I say you play fantasy football with a microscope, not a telescope. Let's make the best week 8 decisions we can. Maybe, look, there's 6 teams that don't play next week, so if you want to look ahead to week 9, I get it. Don't try to win week 15 now. Don't tell me who's playing who in December. I don't care. I'm trying to win this week, and I'm maybe trying to look ahead to next week because the bye week is really ugly. But you hit the nail on the head. We can't look too far ahead because it's a snow globe league, and the moment you have your footing on you, you're going to get sideswiped and you're going to be on your tail again. It's just the way the league works. It wasn't that long ago the Colts beat the Chiefs. How silly does that sound now? Can you imagine the Colts beating the Chiefs tomorrow? Because I can't, but that's the way the NFL works.
And the Panthers beat the Bucs last week.
Sure. Crazy. Look really good doing it. You watch that game, you would have thought Carolina was the 10-point favorite, not Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I mean, Tampa, man, that is it's a shaky thing that's going on with them now. And Brady, I think a lot of the issues Brady is having personally has kind of rolled into it. All right, so the first 3 weeks, he was a QB1. Last week, you probably don't consider him a QB1 coming back after 24 days off. Is Tua a QB1 facing that Detroit Lions defense this week, and Armstead back for a second week in a row now?
Yeah, I got to consider Tua in the circle of trust. Obviously, Hill and Waddle command so many targets there, and Mostert's been good, but the running game, it's not like they're going to just run all over Detroit and not throw the ball. I think Tua's comfortably in the start cut line this week.
Okay. Now, in that game, you do have something going on against Miami, and you've got Khalif Raymond. I read your article. And for those of you, you should go check out Yahoo and check out all the articles. Scott and Andy and all the guys, they write a whole bunch of stuff throughout the week. But Khalif Raymond was a guy that you thought maybe some kind of an option this week against the Dolphins for the Lions.
I mean, look, we're scraping for guys, right? I mean, you may have lost Jamar Chase. You may not have the Chargers this week, and Mike Williams is going to be out for a while. Injury is always a big part of fantasy football, and Raymond's been solid for the last 3 weeks. We don't know what version of St. Brown we're going to get. Josh Reynolds has not played well. Hawkinson only has one good game on the season. We're not sure if Swift is going to play yet. This is, look, ideally, I hope you don't have to play Khalif Raymond, but some of us are dipping outside the top 40 for a receiver this week between injuries and buys, and I'm playing him on a couple of teams. I also think Tyler Boyd, a guy who usually isn't started, okay, but with Chase being out, Boyd's getting 5 to 7, 5 to 8 targets a week anyway. That's going to bump up to probably 7 to 10 targets against Cleveland on Monday, so maybe Tyler Boyd is an answer. If you're really looking deep, Donovan Peoples-Jones is the third probably option that Cleveland passing game. Even Harrison Bryant, you may have lost Njoku. Tight end is just so ugly right now. Harrison Bryant did win a Mackey Award in college, right? Of course, he was a 1,000-yard receiver in college. You almost never see that from a tight end. I think he might catch 4 to 6 passes. We're so desperate, Big O, this year for tight end production. I'm willing to play Taysom Hill knowing he'll play like 13 snaps because he might score a touchdown, right? And how crazy is it that the Saints have 20 offensive touchdowns? Alvin Kamara has 0. But when they get in close, they like to punch it in with Hill. I know if you watch a Saints game, he's on the sidelines most of the day. But when they get in those short yardage packages, Taysom Hill's the number they like to call. And that's what we're doing at tight end, right? A lot of people are, struggling at that position. There's been injuries. There's been players, they can't get Kyle Pitts going in Atlanta. They fall behind 21 points and still don't want to throw the ball. How crazy was that? So we're playing a guy like Taysom Hill with a level of confidence because he has touchdown equity.
All right, you got some questions. Let's go. Send them in. You can send them in on our Welt and Rayom text line. Easy way for me to follow them on the text line at 855-912-1056. I'm looking at the YouTube chat board right now. You can send them in there. Twitter at Big O Show. I will also check there. Let's see. I got a trade proposed to me, says Tyler. James Robinson, Evans, Jacoby Myers, and I give up Walker, DK, and Mostert. I have Michael Carter as well.
No, Walker's a league winner. You're not getting. I don't think Robinson's going to be anything special. I didn't hear the right names coming back. Here's my Kenneth Walker trade rule. If it's not an obvious yes, you're saying no. And by the way, he gets the Giants this week. They are horrible against the run. The defense isn't good anyway, but they're averaging like 5.7 yards a carry against. Kenneth Walker is going to go ballistic against those guys.
Okay. Sage McKinley is asking trade questions. Should I trade Cordarrelle Patterson for Donta Freeman and Antonio Wilson?
I know you have to wait for Patterson, but the backs have kind of been ordinary without him. Actually, they have a good running game and they want to run the ball. I think Patterson's worth waiting for.
Okay. Yo Dudis says I'm injured and bye plagued. Jermichael Hasty, Peoples Jones, or Devontae Parker for my flex.
Peoples Jones by default. I get why Hasty's on your roster. He's now the new number 2 behind ETN, and they probably don't want to use ETN more than maybe 15 touches a game, but that may mean 3 to 5 carries for Hasty. I play Peoples Jones by default.
All right. Razzle Dazzle Crypto is asking flex spot, Brandon Cooks or Paris Campbell, tight end spot, Kyle Pitts or Dalton Schultz.
Because I've seen so little of Schultz, I think Pitts is still your answer there. I know it's not satisfying. And I would play Cooks. Paris Campbell's been really good the last 2 weeks, but they moved down to Ellinger, and I think they're going to run the ball a lot. He's going to be a running quarterback. I just don't know who he's going to be comfortable with and how often they're going to throw the ball. The only thing saving Matt Ryan was the volume of the passing game. It certainly wasn't the efficiency. I know Campbell has those juicy double-digit target games to fall back on the last 2 weeks, but with a new quarterback, and we're talking about a 6th-round pick, it's not like they're downshifting to their first-round pick, their pedigree quarterback. This is a guy who they're kind of taking a flyer on because they don't trust Matt Ryan anymore. Because of that, I would have to play Cooks.
We got something wrong. Tyler Myers corrected me here. It's not It's not Waller. It's not Walker. It's Darren Waller. Okay, so it is. I got a trade proposal: James Robinson, Evans, Jacoby Myers, and giving up Waller, DK, and Mostert.
It's an even trade. I'd probably prefer the first side because you're trading away from the injured Metcalf. You don't know when he's going to come back. It's a trade you don't have to do. It's a trade you could do. I'd probably rather have the healthier group, and that's the group you're getting. Although Robinson, I need to see a game with him in New York before I play him. I wouldn't play him this week.
Apologies, Tyler. Sorry about that. All right.
I should have known, too, that a trade like that had Kenneth Walker in it wouldn't make sense anyway.
Yeah,
so.
my fault. With Mahomes on a bye week, start Daniel Jones or Mariota is asking.
Yeah, Daniel, you're both quarterbacks you're playing hoping they run the ball, but I think Jones is a better runner, and I think Jones might have a little bit more going in his receiver room. I know it's ugly, but Wan'Dale Robinson did some nice things last week, and 2 of the last 3 weeks, Slayton has showed up. Seattle doesn't have a good defense. I think that'll be one of the higher scoring games of the week. So the bottom line is Brian Dable, I think, has a modicum of trust in Daniel Jones, and I think he'll probably end up get a deal done. I know they didn't pick up his option this year. I think the way Arthur Smith calls plays, it's screaming to you he does not trust Marcus Mariota.
Yeah, well, I think he's trying. What I think he's trying to do is, I've seen this before. When you don't trust a quarterback to throw a lot because he'll eventually get in trouble, you try to run the ball. You try high percentage passes, a lot of running backs, a lot of tight ends involved, those kind of things. Outside the numbers, those risks aren't taken nearly as much. I'm a Dolphins fan, so I've seen this because I've seen the mediocre quarterback come through here and the coach that is afraid to really open it up with those kind of guys. And that's kind of what I feel with Mariota, that he's trying to play to Mariota's strengths, which is more along the lines of running and trying to keep that short range, quick passing game going on.
A lot of teams doing that. That's what Chicago's doing with Justin Fields, right? Who's
Exactly.
become
but
fantasy. He's become fantasy viable because he runs the ball so much.
Right.
Zach Wilson is athletic, but he's not really a passer right now. I mean, obviously the Giants have to run a specified offense for Daniel Jones, although I think he's been let down by his receivers. I think Jones has actually played pretty well.
He has actually. He's proven me, or he's on the road to proving me wrong. He's played much better quarterback than he ever has in his career, which, again, that's a credit to the new coach who did a marvelous job in Buffalo developing the other quarterback. So, yeah, I'm with you. And I didn't have a lot of hope for Daniel Jones, bro. Ever since I saw him at the Senior Bowl and watched him in the ACC, I was never impressed with Daniel Jones. But you are so right. He's been a good quarterback who's been let down by his offense this year. No doubt.
And finally, he's got a little bit going with Robinson, Slayton, so we can point to that. And again, the Seattle Giants game is one of the highest totals of the week, so we can proactively play into that game. Daniel Jones. I mean, I dropped Russell Wilson for Daniel Jones in a league. Think about that. I mean, that would sound silly. This shows the NFL out of context. If I told you in August, yeah, you could draft Russell Wilson, just be prepared to drop him for Daniel Jones in the middle of the season, you would have laughed me off the air. But that's where we are right now.
I'm unfollowing Pianowski.
Yeah,
I'm not freaking listening to this podcast anymore. That guy's a fool. He's going to take Daniel Jones over Russell Wilson. Get the hell out of here. 8 months later, oh shit, he was right. So it's
crazy. Well, I was wrong on Russell Wilson. I thought Russell Wilson was going to be great in Seattle, and obviously that ship has sailed.
I thought, I thought Russell Wilson was going to be good, but my problem with Russell going there was I didn't think his team was that good, so he was going to have to be extraordinary Russell, and he hasn't been able to be
He
extraordinary
can't.
Russell.
He needs an athletic component to his game and a running component to his game, and he doesn't have it right now. And not confident. And by the way, when we talked about all the veteran quarterbacks struggling, somehow I left Matthew Stafford off that list. Maybe it's because the Rams didn't play last week.
Right.
I've said there's only three things that Matthew Stafford doesn't trust: his secondary receivers, his offensive line, and his elbow. Other than that, everything's groovy. And now they play the Niners again. We'll see if the Niners defense is healthy on Sunday. Obviously, the last time they played, the 49ers controlled that game. And Kyle Shanahan, last year's playoffs accepted, has pretty much owned this matchup, a game that both teams need desperately. And also, as much as we laugh about the Panthers, we laugh about the Falcons, the winner of that game will be in first place in the NFC South with a lousy record. But, that may be 8 wins may win that division.
That is a disgusting division. All right, if you got questions, send them in on the Welt and Rayom text line 855-912-1056. Wherever you're watching, man, just send us a text. And you can ask the question to Scott Pianowski from Yahoo Sports. We've got Cooper or Sutton.
A weak vote to Cooper. You can't trust either quarterback, but I feel like Cooper's get a more reliable market share and maybe just a little bit more touchdown equity. And I just don't want to. It's not like Jacoby Brissett makes me confident, but I just don't want to get tied to Russell Wilson right now if I can avoid it.
All right. Tony Pollard this week. If Zeke is out, how much do you like him this week? Because obviously he's got to be a handcuff for a lot of people. And then I don't know what's the percentage of him still being out there. I don't imagine it's a lot, but what do you like about Tony Pollard this week?
You have to, if you roster Pollard, he has to be in your starting lineup because either Zeke's not going to play or Zeke's going to be limited. Pollard's going to be their touch guy. And look at the efficiency. I mean, what's he, 5.8 a carry or something, 6 yards a carry? I mean, he's popping off the screen. And I realize people will say, well, Zeke has he has a harder job. He carries the ball more. He carries between the tackles. I get it. It's a little bit of like a starting pitcher versus a relief pitcher where you expect the relief pitcher to have the lower ERA because he's only pitching an inning. It's a little bit like that, but Tony Pollard can handle 15 or 20 touches, and the Bears defense is ordinary. And Stevenson had a good game against them last week, even though the Patriots didn't do much as a team. If you have Pollard anywhere, you're going to play him. And if Zeke is ruled out, I think Pollard ends up being, and every fantasy analyst will say this for you. I mean, he's a top 5 back if Zeke's out. But even if Zeke plays, I can't see him getting a lot of work.
I know there's a lot of injuries in bye weeks, but how much does Pittman's value get crushed because of Ehlinger?
I mean, we just don't know if Ehlinger has any rapport with anybody. I mean, maybe him and Alec Pierce have run reps on the second team or something. And that, we know they have like 17 tight ends on that roster. They throw to their running backs a lot. They throw to Taylor. They throw to Hines. When both of those guys were out, they were throwing to Deion Jackson. So there's no way of knowing if Ehlinger has one guy. Some of you see this with the backup quarterback. He'll click with the backup receiver or something like that. Pittman certainly takes a hit. He dropped down a level for me. He was like a top 12 receiver for me with Ryan. Not that I liked Ryan, but at least there's a certain amount of stability there. I've dropped him to maybe wide receiver 21, wide receiver 23, something like that. You probably have to play him. If you're not playing Pittman, you must have a really great receiver room. You just unfortunately have to drop him a level. I know that's not a very satisfying answer, but that's where we are with the Colts.
Big D says picked up Goodwin to replace DK. Any other wideouts on the waiver wire to look at?
Yeah, I like that. That's one of the best ones I can think of. I mentioned Boyd earlier in shallow leagues.
And Peoples-Jones?
Maybe Slayton or Robinson and the Giants. Peoples-Jones could be a guy you could add. Khalif Raymond, one of the Patriots, perhaps. I know Mac Jones is starting again, and that gives everybody no confidence. But some of the guys I'm looking at. But Goodwin's probably as good as anybody because they're not going to have Metcalf, it sounds like, and Geno Smith. This is the crazy thing. All these quarterbacks we can't trust, and Geno Smith is a safe harbor. I mean, who saw that coming? I certainly didn't see it coming. We didn't even know if he'd be the starter. And it's not like I like Drew Lock, but we didn't know who would start on opening day. And when Geno Smith started, we all thought, well, he's got a short leash. If he does anything wrong, they might make a change. Geno Smith has become somebody we can trust.
I know. Good for him because he's actually a good dude.
He is.
And we already gave up on him.
It ran bad for him. A teammate punched him. He broke his jaw. Yeah. I feel like if you simulated his career like 1,000 times, he got one of the worst runouts, right? He's like, sometimes you're playing poker and you got your opponent crushed and they hit a one-outer on you. I feel like the NFL hit a one-outer on Geno Smith. He should have had a good career, maybe not a Hall of Fame career, but a good career, and a lot of things went wrong. I'm just happy to see him have his moment. And whatever. He's not going to win MVP or anything. Seattle will probably make the playoffs and lose in the first week, but by all accounts, Geno Smith's a good guy. He's hung in there. He stayed humble, and I'm happy to see him succeeding. And man, Seattle's offense. I was joking in week 1. You get the Broncos defense. They're gonna, Russ is gonna win 33-6. Couldn't have been more wrong on that. But at least I got some Kenneth Walker shares. I got some Geno, and Seattle right now looks like a playoff team.
It's what I'm laughing because, you, me, most of America that has watched Geno Smith are like, yeah, whatever. That's nothing. Oh, Seattle's going to start. Oh, they're tanking. And I bet inside the building they're like, yeah, we're not going to win a lot of games. We're gonna have a great draft because we'll have high picks and all that. And that by them starting Geno Smith, they weren't thinking either winning record. So Geno Smith has not just proven us wrong. I think he proved even Seattle management and coaches wrong, that he's done better than they even expected and won more games than they even expected to win. I got to be honest, because it looked to me like Seattle was headed for an absolute tank job this year.
Yeah, I thought they were going to be a 4-win team. What the famous screenwriter William Goldman said about Hollywood, nobody knows anything, and that's the NFL.
Amen.
Look at last year's draft class, right?
Amen.
Trevor Lawrence, jury's still out. Zach Wilson looks like he can't play. Trey Lance, we have no idea. Justin Fields is a work in progress. Mac Jones is taking a major step back. This was supposed to be one of these generational, once-a-decade draft classes. I'm not sure anybody's good.
I know. It's crazy. All right, Scotty, tell them about Yahoo Sports. What are you doing this weekend as you get everybody ready for Sunday, my friend?
Sure. Thursday, we came out with the sleeper pieces. You mentioned Khalif Raymond, who was part of that. I picked the games today. Let's hope we do better than week 7, although 24-11 on the year. We'll take that. Sunday, Fantasy Football Live, the final hour before kickoff in that 1 o'clock window. Andy and friends will be doing the webcast. I'll be handling the Yahoo Fantasy account. So if we didn't get your question today, you can get it there, and we'll obviously have more answers with the injury report. And then Sunday night for Monday morning, I'll be doing a podcast with Matt Harmon where we do all our reactions from every NFL Sunday is crazy. We'll go over what happened, who got hurt, who played well, how everything recalibrates, do it all over again. Let's get you a win. Let's get the Dolphins a win in Detroit. And just keep your head down, keep grinding, man. You gave the best advice you could give, which is look at what's in front of you. Do not try to win a month from now because it's going to look silly. And a month from now, who knows? Maybe we'll be talking about Aaron Rodgers' comeback. I don't know. I mean, the stories will be different. The trade deadline's coming up. The NFL trade deadline is no longer a dud, right?
Right.
We've already seen some big trades. The Eagles made a big trade for Quinn. McCaffrey's been traded. Robinson's been traded. It used to be the NFL trade deadline was like you could just take a nap. You wouldn't miss anything. But now things are going to happen, so we have to pay attention to that as well. A lot going on. It's moving time. Keep grinding, and let's get you in the playoffs.
Follow him on Twitter at Scott_Pianowski and catch his exceptional work along with Andy Behrens, our bookend tackles, our fantasy football bookend tackles. And you can catch him there at Yahoo Sports. Scotty, as always, thank you, my friend. Appreciate you big time.
Great to talk to you, Big O. We'll see you next week.
Thank you, sir. There you go. Scott Pianowski getting it done. Yahoo Sports. That's a little fantasy football. All right, give us 2 minutes, and then we'll come back with Manny Navarro. We'll talk a little Canes as they get ready for Virginia right here on the Big O Radio Show live from Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.